live this all the time.
There are so many updates and tons of community work happening. It's hard to keep up. How do I follow it all?
Here is your answer. Listen to the Gutenberg Changelog. Hello and welcome to our 18th episode of the Gutenberg Changelog. In today's show, we will talk about Gutenberg 7.9, Radiance, full-site editing, and block patterns. I'm Birgit Pauly-Hahn, curator at the Gutenberg Times and owner of Pauly Systems, an online business agency assisting nonprofits to connect with their donors online. I'm here with my co-host, Mark Urain, designer at Automatic, core contributor to WordPress, and design lead of Gutenberg Phase 2. How are you doing, Mark?
Hey there, Birgit.
Hey.
I am so anxious lately being in quarantine. I'll tell you, my kids are photobombing my Zoom calls. I'm high dosing vitamin C to stay healthy, but I've never valued getting outside as much as I do nowadays, though. I'm so thankful, though, that there's a lot of good happening in the world. People are showing compassion, empathizing with one another, and generally smaller communities are really helping the regions in which they are. So a lot of good. How have you been doing?
Well, I'm in my day 39 or 38 of staying home, but we have been good. We did 8 weeks of couch to 5K in a little over 4 weeks. And now I can jog for 25 minutes straight, which is actually an accomplishment for someone like me who hasn't run that long.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, other than that, I'm getting a little bit more wanderlust. So it was the time that we were supposed to go to Europe, and I'm kind of still longing for that.
Yeah.
But can't help it. It's better to stay here. It's not safe yet to fly. So today we have a few announcements. Actually, one announcement, and then that is the recordings of the WP Block Talk conference are now available on WordPress TV. If you missed the live event or if you want to watch some talks again, you can check them out. Some are an hour and 20 minutes, like the theme case studies with the impromptu Q&A with Bill Erickson, Beth Soderberg, and Ellen Bauer. And some of them are 8 minutes long, like Greg Tsiolkovsky's Create Block Scaffolding demonstration. You could start with Matt Molenbeek's and Matthias Ventura's roadmap talk and the subsequent Q&A.
Yeah, watching that roadmap talk, Birgit, was so enlightening to kind of see how the vision's being laid out for Gutenberg and what it's going to mean eventually as it becomes this full site editing experience. So good. A lot of these talks, I had so much fun just conversing with everybody and getting to know people I have never talked with before and seeing what they're doing out there. And if you can create a block scaffold in 8 minutes, as Greg does, we should all be creating blocks because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And it actually is to the block plugin that you can upload to the WordPress repository. There were some amazing talks there. I really like the different use cases for themes. We had the theme developers, and each one of them has a different aspect of it. So everybody that is in the WordPress space can really learn.
So true, right? They kind of all three of them had a similar topic, but they all talked about it from 3 very different points of view.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So I think my favorite talk, I had 12 favorite talks, right? But one of them I found quite enlightening was Kay Adams' talk about how he worked with a customer to convert the short codes that they had multiple to in their current situation to blocks. And that's, I think quite a few blogging developers find themselves in that situation that they have their shortcodes are widely used, but how can you transform them into blocks and what do you do with old code?
Yeah, I want to add that if anybody out there has never listened to Kadam give a talk, it is so fun because he is very elegant in how he relays these or conveys these concepts to the audience. I don't think he ever really says or stutters on his word, like very thoughtful in how he communicates this stuff. Anyways, I'm a fan and I enjoy his talks. So
yeah, and Tammy Lister about global styles was really good.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? Seeing all the work that she has done throughout that whole bit. Wow.
Yeah, and what goes into the new block UI that we will see in WordPress later this year, hopefully, or maybe not, I don't know. Yeah, check them out. You get a lot of insights from the developers of Gutenberg as well. Yeah, check them out.
We could probably spend the entire show just talking about that show.
And longer.
Right.
It's not going to be a 30-minute podcast.
Right. But anyways, let's continue on to community contributions. Recently, I read a piece from an article from Harris Zulfikar. Wrote an article about Gutenberg theme styles integration, and almost what you see is what you get. Right? Harris talks about how Gutenberg is close to this, what you see is what you get editing experience, but not quite there. And he talks about some of the other third-party plugins and people out there that have gotten a bit closer with this, and really hopes that Gutenberg and the block editor makes that leap to allowing one just simple code base, one build process, and then that's what you get. He's betting on Gutenberg. He's betting that that's going to be the way forward for WordPress. And so it's really good to see that support there. I do want to add for you, Harris, that there is an issue in GitHub right now that is currently talking about utilizing the editor in an iframe so that we can limit this to one build and one code base that, that it works both on the front end and the back end. And something like that could get us closer. So if you're interested in leaving some feedback, please do. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, that's good to hear. And I also learned in the WP Block Talk from Bill Erickson a method. So what Harris also says is that I don't have a code base for the CSS just for the admin and the front end the same. I have to do it twice, pretty much. And it's duplication of code is something that everybody kind of shies away from. And Bill Erickson actually has quite a nice workaround that he talks about in his talk on WP Block Talk. And I'm not revealing how that works. You need to go for yourself and watch it. So the two other contributions are about the block patterns. Block patterns are now in an API for the Gutenberg plugin. And Mel Joyce wrote a nice tutorial on how to create a simple block pattern plugin for the Gutenberg editor. It walks you really through the documentation and through the CSS as well as the theme part of it. So check that out. It's called Creating a Simple Block Pattern plugin for the Gutenberg editor. And the other part was that I found pretty much on the same day, Justin Tadlock from the WP Tavern actually created a block pattern builder plugin, which is kind of the meta idea about that. But Mel Joyce is more for the developers and theme builders. And Justin's plugin is for those users who can create the patterns in the editor and then share them out through the plugin with other people or make them available on their own site for other editors. So they can replicate that. And it's going beyond the reusable block or taking care of reusable blocks when you don't want to edit them. And so it's quite an interesting movement there with block patterns.
Yeah, I really enjoy picking a block pattern from the block pattern builder plugin. I just wanted to say that. I'm sorry. That was...
Yeah, say it really fast. Block pattern builder plugin. No, but that's great work and great thought about, how can this be used? How can this be pushed forward? Which brings us to what's released. And that is Gutenberg 7.9 and 7, and a day later, 7.9.9.1. Mark, would you kind of talk us through the new features?
Yeah, so 7.9, there were 5 features that were highlighted in this release. Let's go through those. Add gradient support to the group block, the columns block, and media and text blocks. What did I say, Birgit?
Gradients! Gradients!
Yeah. Okay, so
Love them.
yes, as you can see, the Gutenberg team is very focused on making sure everyone gets their fill of gradients. We'll bring them to all the blocks eventually. Line heights. Line heights are a big one. And we've noticed that as people are really creating some block patterns that are very customized, line height becomes one of the key factors for bringing that design, that essential design aesthetic to a pattern. And so whether you're adjusting it so text is almost overlapping or spreading it apart wide, like line height's a big one. Anyway, the fifth feature there is adding custom height unit support to the cover block. So really good features, I think, that people can fiddle with and start making the content really their own in terms of customization. We had about 17 enhancements in 7.9. New patterns.
Ooh, yes.
Hero 2 column patterns, numbered features, and it's time sort of pattern, really working again with like varying on font sizes and columns, adding a new keyboard shortcut to the toggle full screen mode. That's a plus for a lot of people. There's the social links block that got some updates like the Tumblr icon and message social links colors, updating all block previews to use the auto height behavior, removing the post permalink UI from the post title. That's that, Birgit, that one that I just mentioned. I just said it, but that's like historic right there, I feel. WordPress has had that permalink next to the title for I don't know what release that came out in, but as long as I can remember. So now here it is. We've just removed it from the title.
I'm hearing the other 50% of the WordPress, because these decisions are pretty much what comes down to. It's 50-50, yeah.
Right.
Some like it and some don't like it. But I read back through that, and the initial issue was released sometime spring 2018 as a accessibility issue, because you cannot write the title and then jump back if you don't know that there's something in there. So the order from top to bottom was different, but you wouldn't have a permalink unless you have a title in, and then when you have a title you weren't able to jump back up. So that is something, and I think the earlier Gutenberg version was the permalink was underneath the title because of that, but people didn't like that, or didn't use it, didn't find it, and now it's in the sidebar, or only in the sidebar, right? And removed it. So I'm interested in what people feel about that. I had another question. Oops,
yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm interested as well, but go on with your question.
What is an auto height behavior?
It's a great question. I know I mentioned it, but you got me on the spot here. It's for the auto height preview. So you know how you roll over a block in the inserter and you get a preview of that block?
Yeah.
Well, initially it was set to a set height, which caused all the content to get small in the preview. So if you set the height to auto, it allows it to grow with the content and at least present the content in a way that you can actually read the preview.
Yeah. Oh, that makes total sense.
So that was kind of a neat one.
Yeah.
And with the new G2 styling, the UI interface, like it's looking beautiful.
So what was you wanted to say something about the permalink?
Yeah, I'm just curious to see what people think as well. I mean, that's a historic one, I feel like, right there. Mm-hmm. It's a small change, kind of, but it's historically significant, I feel. So that takes us to performance. There were 3 performance PRs that helped. And you know what, Birgit, I did not look at what the performance rating was for this version compared to last. Do you know if we took a dip on performance, or did we, looks like we improved loading time by just a 1/10 of a second, and key press event to key press event took a hit a little bit. Is that milliseconds or microseconds? What's an MS, Birgit?
Milliseconds.
Milliseconds. Good.
So 1,000 milliseconds gives you 1 second.
Thank you. Now, is that the metric system?
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
Well, there was a Twitter feed today where I kind of really had to laugh out loud, where a German husband and an American wife kind of talking about imperial and metrics, and the husband was always making up new measurements like social distancing. Take an allocator between you instead of 2 feet. Yeah, 6 feet. What's that? Yeah, it's kind of funny.
What else do we have going on, Birgit?
So yeah, we had a few bug fixes, 26 PRs with bug fixes, and I'm just gonna pointing out a few. One is that the YouTube embed block is not flickering anymore and crashing Safari. All Safari users will be happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
Also fixed the sibling inserter to have a better landing for the click that you needed. There were some occasions where you weren't able to aim right. And
that was so true. You saw that, because I wasn't the only one then, because I would hover and it was a guessing game of when is the inserter going to appear. Yeah,
it was more like, I'm gonna place it here and maybe it appears, right? Yeah, but I saw when it came out, I think it was with the new G2 or the new block UI, so it came out 7.7. And I knew there was already very early, there was an issue in there. So I just waited for that. And there have been quite a lot of fixes for the latest post block.
Wow.
So it has a read more link now that can be added by the themes. The image dimensions are fixed. There were also two known latest post blocks now after I tested it. So I was always holding on to some of the block collections, and my idea is to actually get rid of most of them to still do wonderful web pages. And one of the blocks is Atomic Blocks PostGrid is just marvelous. And I was still holding on to that because it was so easy to use. And just recently I switched it over to the latest post block, and it was really magical. I really liked it. I was able to select the category that I wanted the blocks to come from, because it was a subpage on a landing page, just to put this in there. There is a little bug still there, because there's an index warning showing up on the front page. That is known and it's identified as a bug, and I'm sure the week after next with the new version that's gone. What helps you is when a workaround is to put it in and then switch off the plugin. But I love that block. Yeah,
Birgit, on behalf of the Gutenberg team, you're welcome for that. That's
thank you. The new version also fixed the transparent images used on the cover block as backgrounds, and it also fixed the block movers for full white blocks. That took a while to fix, but until then the workaround was that you had to change the alignment to wide or center and then move the block. It was more annoying than really hindering, but I'm glad that it's...
And just to clarify, that's because the block toolbar would be on the edge, and out of the edge of the block toolbar is now where the movers come out. So when it was already on the edge, the movers would slide out, but they'd be off screen, so you couldn't move the block.
Yeah. So I can move it.
That's fixed.
Yeah, it's fixed. Thank you. And then another one was that the cover block is fixed, so it doesn't override the children's block's colors. Where you could change the color of the paragraph that's in the cover block, but when you go back and change the cover block, kind of made it all look the same.
Wow.
There are a few new APIs. One is really, a lot of people are waiting for it. It's a new utility API for register block types from metadata and PHP. That kind of makes that dynamic block a little bit more versatile.
I'm just like, wow, okay. This is good stuff.
It's good stuff, yeah. Then the screen sidebar is more extensible now, and you can add the full screen component to the WordPress interface package. And there's I haven't figured out the new create localization function or internationalization function, but having that is a new one too. Okay.
And then that brings us to the experiments. There were 28 various PRs merged in for experiments. Of course, we have full site editing and the site editor screen. There are a lot of little things, little fixes in there. improvements happening, PRs getting merged. And a lot of this stuff is very structural related right now to help as we start making the bigger UI changes, which are already pretty far along in design, I'd say. So there's a lot of things ready for development that are going to really impact the UI coming up.
You mean I should start looking at full site editing again?
Yes, I would say it's worth to take another look. I think we need to still work on the experiment in the plugins still to get the layout a little better. But there's things like the multi-entity saving flow, so if you have manipulated some content, you changed a template part like the header area, and then when you save the page, it kind of alerts you like, oh, if you're looking for that information, what actually has been saved, and you can turn on or off if you want to keep any of that.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. Because sometimes you do multiple things at the same time, and then where do I save all that? Yeah.
Right.
Good.
And then we have a new menu screen as an experiment in the plugin right now. So if you turn that on, you'll get a menu screen that's called a beta version that shows the navigation block inside of it. So it's still a very similar user interface as the original menu screen in WP Admin, except now it has the block and the block navigator to kind of help you figure that out. A lot of questions come up with that, but
yeah, one is so we're going back to the menu term that was reserved for.
You know what? I'm just using menu just because it keeps the familiarity of the menu screen. I mean, I'm still calling it a navigation block though. So that's a good question. I'm trying to pick those words carefully to help draw the relationship mentally for the listeners, but maybe I'm just messing it all up. Yeah, everybody's like, man.
Yeah, I think you're fine. I just wanted to, kind of make fun of it.
Did he say template parts or did he say template areas? What?
Did you say page templates or block templates?
Oh goodness, this is my life actually. Every day I'm trying to understand terminology. So in addition to those things, we've got the navigation block, like I mentioned as well. Navigation block is undergoing a lot of like improvements to help with usability. I just spent like a good hour or two in a jam session with some other designers trying to talk about how sub navigation works. Tammy's sharing a lot of her work that she's doing with this to help improve it. So be on the lookout for some really cool stuff coming in the navigation block very soon. And then we have the block API support flags. There's, let's see, introduce support key for support global style colors and blocks. So kind of like, what does your block support, or what do you have to support your block as far as style-wise and various font sizes, things like this. Yeah, and just a couple other experiment things happening there. But so that takes us to document. Oh, do you have something?
So that's already in preparation for the global styles, where people can change the color scheme for their own website, and then have the block API support that.
Right. Thanks for conveying that, how people would actually use those things. And not only for global styles, I think what it's opening up for as well is like we have a label on GitHub called Design Tools. Mm-hmm. And so that's really pulling in some of these features to the actual block itself. So you can maybe make individual block changes, but then you also have global styles that affect all the blocks. So how to work with that if you're creating blocks, you can actually get some of these things to support your block. Here, documentation.
All right. Yeah, there were a few documentation changes. I'm only picking two, I think. And one is the server-side render docs to include how use it for the WP Global package. And the other one is how to update post meta values from a block. That documentation a lot of people were looking for, and it was a little thin, so glad that it was updated. Thank you, whoever did this. And then we had the rest of the release notes. Code quality, there were 29 PRs that affected the code quality. Some of it has to do with the color support flags, and also with special typing in packages. Some refactoring is going on, and then removing old code, lighter DOM, block DOM behavior, so the page loads are faster. You may not have any indication for the blog user or the WordPress user or content creator, but it definitely, all the little things will add up.
Right.
And then there are some PRs in the various section, 31 of those. They cover unit tests, end-to-end tests, making the test info for the plugin to 5.4, or also some gardening ideas, slot fills and ESLint plugins, updates, React Kit updates. So these are the toolings underneath of the Gutenberg. With that, we come to what's in active development or discussed. And Mark Rain has published his design update 49 already. So Mark, tell me about the W.
Yeah, so the W, this is for all you listeners out there, might have noticed that with WordPress 5.4 came a full screen default mode for the editor. When you go into the editor, it defaults to full screen, and there's a W in the upper left-hand corner. And if you click on that W, it kind of takes you back to WP Admin. And so there's some explorations going on by Sean Andrews, who's looking at animating that a little bit. So when you click the W, like maybe the WP Admin menu kind of just slides out and then slides back, so you don't really have to do any page loads, and you can just slide in the menu and then jump out to wherever you need to go, and that's the W.
I saw the PR and the GIF, the animated GIF or GIF or GIF, and I really like it. It has something to it. It's kind of the next step of UI, and I'm a fan of the full site editing. That too, but the full screen mode, just because you can focus on your content and not jumping in and out of it, but sometimes you have to.
Sure. And one of my concerns recently was with the new block inserter. If anybody is watching what's happening, the block inserter was merged recently. That also does a kind of a slide out feature now. So when you click to add a block from the top toolbar, it slides out rather than a popover appearing. A slide out appears showing your blocks. And then there's also a tab in there now for patterns. So we've moved the block patterns into the inserter now, and making that really a unified area where whatever you want to add to your site, you kind of go to that one thing to add these things to your site. So I'm a little curious to see how this slide out W kind of interacts while you also have a slide out inserter on that same side. We haven't seen them both merged yet. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious. I need to, I think, pull down the master branch, and then I can test the W with the block inserter. That would be fun. That would be a good experience.
So the block inserter, that's a great jump to take out the block patterns out of the sidebar into the inserter. So whatever you want to add to the content, you get it from the same place.
Right.
Yeah, so I really like that. I was curious to find out what happens with the other inserters that are throughout your document. Yeah, like between the blocks or underneath the blocks. Will they also have that larger pop-up or slide out or something?
I think so. So there is experimentation going on with that as well. But the idea there is, like, if you're in the sibling inserter within the content, that might default to the block patterns, but because it might be likely that someone wants to get a block pattern rather than an individual block when they're in the content, but depending where they are in the content, I guess I should say. But all that's still kind of being explored right now.
Yeah, it will be quite some change behavior pattern coming in. I can understand that quite a few of the collections plugins that have been in place for the last 2 years will change will not have the different blocks in the block section, but they are actually block patterns. So they probably will switch them over now that the block patterns are in the inserter. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and then I just touched on some of the full site editing stuff, and then the menu screen in that post.
Yeah.
But that brings us to the end.
Yes. Well, that was a quite a heavy release, 7.9. That it was also moved for a week. What do you think when is the next release coming? Is it coming next week or the week after?
I think in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. All right. Okay. So
I'm not positive though. I actually have, I was AFK this last core editor meeting, so I didn't attend. I don't know what was determined.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we are at the end of the show. As always, the show notes will be published on the gutenbergtimes.com/podcast with the latest published episode just on top of that page. And if you have questions and suggestions or news that you want us to include, send them to us via email to changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. That's changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. My DMs on Twitter are open, so you can always ping me there. I think Mark's is also listening to his Twitter feed.
Definitely.
Well, we are so happy that you're here. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you all stay safe, be well, wash your hands, and I wish you goodbye until the next time.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for listening. And Birgit, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.